Welcome to this episode of Talk is Cheap, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about the mudflood theory. What is it? We got a lot of pictures to go through, some cool stuff to look at. I also are going to touch on the Eleanor Caves. So we're getting a 2-for-1 shot here. Up next on Talk is Cheap. Welcome to Talk is Cheap, episode 164. I'm joined by Pete Hallblive to my left.
Episode 164. That's a lot of episodes, Dan.
Yes, sir.
And we made it big time.
Time. That's debatable. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us today. We have the podcast, audio podcast available on all the platforms, BitChute, and also lbry.tv. You can catch us after, I guess we're not live streaming, I'm so used to that. You can catch us over there if YouTube goes down. Also do a little housekeeping here. I want to talk about the poster contest real quick. We got this amazing poster over here to my right. It's been catching cobwebs in the studio. It's time to get rid of it. It needs to go to a home, one of you guys out there.
Yeah.
What good way to play this? You guys give us something, I'll give you something. Why not? So we're going to have ourselves a little contest for a remix our theme here. So the prize is there to your left. Again, the video link for our theme that you just heard coming into this episode, that link is down below in the description. And every Talk is Cheap episode, that link is in the description. Go to the bottom. It's at the very bottom. Click on that link. There's also a interesting thing there too. You can click on it. It'll also have this spot up here where it says download 12 files in the upper left. There's a musical instrument track. They got just a bass track. They're all there. If you choose to use those are there. I set an artificial date of June 1st. We'll see how this goes. Get them uploaded to a platform such as YouTube or another video platform. Or if there's a better audio platform I don't know about. Something that you can send me a link with is fine. Again, higher quality equals better. Send that link to k2d4network@gmail.com, and then I'll listen to it. We'll get them on the show. Probably have a nice little voting thing here. I'm interested to see what you guys come up with, a lot of the production. I know production can be a lot of work, so I'd love to see what you guys come up with. Again, you can remix this theme, come up with your own. Maybe you have, you can play the...
synthesizer.
Those are
any musical instrument for that matter, right?
I was trying to think of the Mac program that you can make music on.
I don't know. I would love a bagpipe version of our theme. That would be pretty cool.
That would get boring after one episode.
We'd need to drink some more whiskey.
If we select you guys, it'll be the new theme. If we only get, again, this poster is going to go to whoever. If there's only one submission, we'll get this poster.
I mean, you could scream gibberish into a microphone and send it to us and say, here's your new theme. And if you're the only one, you get the poster. We might not use it, but, you get the poster.
So, it won't be guaranteed that we'll use it. But the poster will go to somebody as long as there's a submission. If nobody submits one, I guess, whatever.
Think of a different contest or something.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
And that is. We'll launch it into space on the next Elon Musk capsule.
So let's get into today's episode. We're going to go over two topics, ladies and gentlemen. There's the mudflood theory, which was submitted by Two Sons of, and also we're going to look at the Eleanor Caves and Temple, and that was submitted by John Slane. Only reason I'm throwing his on because I don't feel like it's one thing we can talk about. It's not a whole episode.
Sure,
so this is a perfect episode to tack it on to, so I threw it right on the end here.
Two quick ones then, basically, right?
Well, it might take us a little time to go over the mudflood, but
okay, I'm cheating and reading ahead a little bit on the notes there, and I've already got some questions and kind of like what the heck's going on. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where you're going to take us here, Dano.
Okay, so mudflood theory, Wikipedia. This is what it says.
Ooh, nothing like a good, Wikipedia good reliable source like Wikipedia.
Hey, give it to me this way. I don't always look at conspiracy theories, but when I do, I go to Wikipedia.
Yeah, that should be a T-shirt. It probably is, isn't it?
That's another thing. Your assignment. before the end of the year for the next Christmas special. Design a T-shirt for me.
Ooh, careful what you wish for, sir. All
Or
right.
multiple.
All right, new contest, a T-shirt
No,
design.
that's all you, buddy.
Pete.hoblime, can you flash my email address over here? Send me your T-shirt designs, folks. There we go. Pete.hoblime@yahoo.com. I do check it every couple months, so...
Okay, so Wikipedia Mudflood. What does it say? A general synopsis of this theory is that within the last 100 to 1,000 years, civilization was reset and humanity lost much of its knowledge and many advanced technologies. This reset was caused by a huge flood that covered the land in a few feet worth of sediment. Few theorists equate this flood with the Great Flood of the Bible. If this theory is true, it would throw off the Bible's timeline by more than 1,000 years.
Okay, so my first hang up here is it did not happen 100 years ago, man. You know, my grandparents lived 100 years ago. Well, they're passed away now. I think I would have heard about that. But anyway, continue.
I was waiting for the right.
Hold on. Let me find something.
Oh, yeah.
That'll work.
Oh, that was
Transition.
No, that was.
I got it.
Okay, yeah, good.
Okay.
All fake.
There we go. There, that's a little more appropriate.
So the really breakdown of this whole theory, we're going to go through some pictures here. The proof of this is people are saying, well, you can see in these photos too, buildings have been dug out to reveal lower levels than were previously there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and look. And they're saying that they're hiding our history, of course. But let's go ahead and look through some photos on here, and then we'll go into some prominent cases that they talk about.
I thought you were a woman.
So this one here, you know, nothing big here. You know, it looked like almost like an archaeological dig.
Whoa, that doesn't even look real. How could they possibly get that uncovered like that? That's awesome.
Yeah, for those listening on the audio, we got 4 sand walls, and then at the bottom they're scraping off like a mural on the floor.
Yeah, like a I don't know what I don't think it's paint, but yeah, it's definitely like a very intricate design of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9 different busts of people. Kind of looks into that Greek era. You know. So
here's another photo. This is a.
We know where this was.
I just typed these in Google and grabbed them off the.
Okay.
Because I'm just trying to give examples. We've got
not America, I can tell you that.
Got a lot to go through.
The architecture.
But look, we got brick walls that are under a road. You can tell this is a subterranean structure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like they kind of dug out a roadway.
This one looks like an archway, or almost like
what language is that in the background? Can you zoom in? Just kind of curious.
You make things difficult.
I do. I ask too many questions. Okay, we're gonna go on. Okay, so that is definitely a foreign language. Maybe Russian.
It's not really important to know where these are at.
No, I'm
just giving examples.
Yeah, more curious.
Because we'd be here all day to try to break down every one of these.
Yeah, every one of these photos. Yeah, you're right, Dan. Let's move this along.
Okay, so here we got another like archaeological dig. You can see that they're uncovered. These are buildings. These are
like full buildings, like flush with the surface. I can see a doorway a good 6 feet under the ground there, that doorway on the right.
The date says 39 on it.
Yeah, it sure does.
March 25th. April, thank you.
Yeah. 1939, they excavated something like this. But that architecture looked fairly modern under the ground like there.
Okay, now here's the other thing they talk about with this mud flood theory. You can tell that these were windows. We're going to get into this a little bit later, but just
they
keep
sure
it in
were.
mind.
And there's an arched doorway or entryway there. So it's like almost like, again, 6 feet or so, maybe not quite 6 feet, 4 or 5 feet of earth then, and they kind of just restarted, like kind of drew the new line at the ground.
So here's a temple-like structure that's got
cool. That looks Greek to me.
The pillars, and
that is just super cool. But
you can tell it's filled in with dirt, like it's definitely goes down.
It's
further.
Brick with mortar, but that's super neat. I would love to see.
This one's really interesting here because you can definitely tell like the ground was right up against the wall.
That's like 15 feet.
That's like a little over half of the building. That was
definitely over half the building, and just kind of like looking at. It's tough to get a size of it, but that's got to be at least 15 feet underground. That building was excavated. So at some point, either they moved in a whole bunch of dirt around this building, or a whole bunch of dirt moved in. Yeah, how do I say that? Yeah, that's interesting.
Here's another example. This is like a streetway.
It looks European,
and you can see
maybe.
that goes way down.
Oh, is that Big Ben in the distance there? Maybe that's England. That could be Big Ben way in the back there. That's a tall tower of some sort.
Could be.
Looks like a clock tower.
And the more structure underneath looks like a parking lot. Brick.
That's interesting too.
Yes.
Can you imagine in your backyard, Dan, doing some excavating and coming across something like that?
Another, how would you describe this?
Oh,
Roman-like?
Roman-like, Greek-like, or whatever. Roman architecture, I would say.
Pillars.
It looks like some sort of entryway. It's got the arched, the arched kind of entryways there. Definitely like well underground. You can tell. That one to me feels small though. Like it only like 6 feet wide or so. Just kind of looking at it.
But one of the other, I forget what this building was.
Is that the Leaning Tower of Pisa?
No,
it isn't.
Is this China?
No, it isn't.
This was another famous
that
building.
does look like it's got some Asian architecture to it.
It's definitely in an Asian country.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The person standing there looks. They're in some traditional.
So yeah, they're basically showing how much it's sinking or the mud's gotten up there.
Yeah, another 4 or 5 feet.
So this one's interesting. We're gonna break this down in a case later, but this is under Paris. We'll check this out.
And what's Lutetia? Are we gonna get into that?
Yeah,
Okay,
somewhat.
good. All right.
Here's another photo, like way under. You can tell this was a doorway here,
Yeah, bricked in.
but they had the streets like was way up.
And look at those old cables or whatever underneath. Those look like they maybe potentially were in there, but that is definitely excavated down pretty far, and there were doorways a good 10 feet below the current ground level. There we go again.
Doorways underground, like halfway.
So that would lend credence to this 100 to 1,000 years. But again, how is there no historical record of this anywhere? But I do see.
If it was in the
point.
last 100 years, of course it'd be a record.
But those buildings that we're looking at were not built, more than a couple hundred years ago. So you're looking at maybe 200 years. Again, where in the historical record is this? That is so crazy, man. I would love to hear what the powers that be say to explain that. Because that building there was, well underground.
Yeah, here's another example. Whether it's sinking and they had to build around it.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's a little sketchy there. But there are others that are certainly more compelling. Oh, open that one.
That was the one that was on that other picture. You can just see that.
Yeah, you can see
it was up here.
Yeah, you can see the marks from where it was.
I'm just trying to get through these quickly, folks. So we got a few cases to bring
again. Up. Oh, that's the same photo from the other one.
Yeah, another underground like.
What is up with that?
And these could be, like catacomb things too.
Yeah, but that's still interesting.
This one's real interesting here. So here's what the hell age would you call this? There's one here. The one on the
that's an artist rendition on the
one
left,
on the left
though.
is an artist rendition from 1836. And you can see the two prominent pillars, and the angles are the same too. And you can see that.
Oh yeah,
it was up here farther.
20 feet. There was all these other structures that were underground at the time that artist did the drawing. Is that one on the right an actual photo? Or is that computer generated?
That's a photo, yeah.
It's so tough to tell these days. That sucks.
So those are a few that I just wanted to show quickly of examples of these structures. They're definitely digging there, and there's a lot of structure underneath there.
Now, Dan, I know like when you talk about Middle East desert type areas, sandstorms can put sand, quick, but that doesn't explain. I mean, I think we saw Russia. I'm pretty sure we saw England in there, and Paris we looked at. That's just not a dust storm.
The mudflood theory experts say that the biggest cases for the mudflood is the Russian Winter Palace, the U.S. Capitol building, and St. Mary's Magdalen Church in Omaha, Nebraska. So we'll look at all these. So the Russia Winter Palace.
Wow, look at that place. That would be a sight to behold.
And then what they're pointing out here, and I think I'll show it in the next
all these windows/doorways that are like
below the
ground
level, yes. You wouldn't have Yeah, and they illustrate it here in this picture.
Yeah,
of how
yeah.
much
Oh, yeah,
farther-
right. If you assume that the next window down, I mean, you're talking a good 5 feet. Why would they do that? I would love to get a backhoe in there and dig that out a little bit.
So this is a drawing.
Is that the Winter Palace?
It's supposed to be, yes. This from the 18th century.
Go back to the other.
But you can.
Winter
They're gonna.
Palace.
The outside's gonna be changed a little bit different because of renovations and stuff.
Of course.
But I think it's pretty.
Yeah, what I don't see on the drawing is all
Somewhat
those
similar.
pillars, which
Well,
could have easily been an add-on in modern times. You're absolutely right. I'm kind of looking at. I don't see the same.
Indent is over here.
The Winter Palace on the left has a flat roof and not a peaked roof like the drawing
This
does.
ain't flat. That's peaked.
Well,
it's just the angle.
But look at the other areas. You know, yeah, they've got the I forget what they call it, the gable or whatever in the front that's got the clock on it. But it certainly doesn't show a peaked roof.
But all I'm trying to show is, for an example here, that you got the land here, and it was either filled in or flooded according to the mudflood theory.
Well, and if you look at the left there, you've got like a down slope that's
yeah.
stairways. I'm not entirely convinced those are the same. Well, yeah, okay.
And then
I am
it's just a
little
drawing, so maybe
bit. And
take it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's-
and I now that I look at it, there are some similarities.
That's that case there. So now we'll move to.
Is there anything anywhere documented that talks about this that you found, like in weird text?
I'll get to my
okay.
opinion of it in a little bit.
Okay, all right.
So I just want to show these cases. So U.S. Capitol.
Yes,
This
is
is
gonna be a good
Washington,
one.
D.C.,
Yeah.
USA, for those that are watching us
For those on
overseas.
January 6th that were in there, maybe they can remember some
at
of
this.
these features. What is that? What year is that? 2003? They dug that all out?
So yeah, this is recent. Now what we're seeing here for those listening on the audio, you got the Capitol building steps, and then below it they dug out all the ground underneath, and you can see that there's actually structure there.
Yeah, it looks like it. You know, there's definitely like right below the front stairs or something.
And you got these pillars.
Yeah, that's weird.
The mudflood theory is that this was
Originally part of the
part
Capitol.
of the Capitol.
Ooh, that's a stretch.
I think we got another. Oh no!
There's even like some more kind of like blocks and stuff even deeper that they're highlighted there.
Okay, then let's go to the next case, which was now this next case here is gonna
Is in where again? Yeah.
it's gonna tie everything that I think and basically debunk. I should say this right now. Debunk this whole thing. So this is St. Mary's Magdalen Church in Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska.
So here, where this arrow's pointing is where the way was. That was on the ground. You can see it.
Where they dug it out or something. What?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I researched this topic.
Look, that is interesting though. It's like you can see a very kind of a.
So the mudflood theory. So they're saying that all that structure was underneath the ground and they just dug it out. And, that was there already. But that's proven false because this is the photo from before.
Whoa! What is that?
So what they did, the whole thing with this thing is they were regrading the elevation of the street.
Yeah, it looks like they're putting a railroad in or something. Because there's a railroad track.
I think that's actually how they were hauling that dirt out at that
Oh,
time.
maybe it was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, because the church was so historic, they wanted to keep it. So you can see right here, this is dug out. It's not like this one where there's structure underneath.
So they dug it out and basically poured cement under
Built
it.
blocks in to meet the new requirements for the new level.
Yeah, I could see that. And then that alleged, like kind of earth line is actually new concrete.
So again, here's the doorway way up here where it used to be, and they started building all this. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, they're digging it out," and it was already in
yeah,
there.
because in that picture there, it's very clear.
Yeah, you can tell.
They've got it braced under. You can see right through underneath it. So not a good wagon to hitch your horse to on this one.
No, and if that was one of the prominent cases, well, again, that was according to Wikipedia that was one of the prominent cases.
And they'll let anybody put anything on it.
So that's debunked right there in my mind. That was again two of the
Well,
3
don't,
cases.
just because they're pointing at.
But
Okay. All right. I'll stop.
there is stuff that happens, and we're going to talk about what happens here. One village, city, Herculaneum.
Cool name.
This was all underground, and this was all dug out.
Mm-hmm.
So this is in Italy, and it from Mount Vesuvius, which Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Traditional story is that the city was rediscovered by chance in 1709 during the digging of a well.
So supposedly buried by volcanic ash. The city of Troy, if I'm not mistaken, was discovered that same way. That they thought it was a mythical city, but then all of a sudden during some excavation, they hit it and found it. Wow, is that all excavated?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot.
And I'm impressed with just the architecture.
Yeah, right.
In 79 AD, that was buried.
That's the
of
thing.
course, some of it's modernized with new roofs and stuff.
It almost looks like they put window glass or.
Oh, and they did, but I'm like looking at the stonework and stuff. That's impressive, man.
You haven't seen nothing yet. Wait till we get to the Eleanor Caves. So there was one case, ladies and gentlemen, of an actual, yes, and I'm not saying those other structures we didn't look at were not getting buried. Of course they were. Again, over time, we'll break down all the different things that this could be.
My biggest thing is the timeline on this. 100 to 1,000 years, I just feel that there would be
some
more
documentation
historical
about it.
records.
Absolutely.
Even if it's in an obscure, non-mainstream, publication, if you will, that you would hear about that. But that's the first I've ever heard of anything cataclysmic like that happening in the last 1,000 years.
So back to Paris.
Color me skeptical.
This is what we got up on screen here. This is another thing that they were talking about.
Yeah, they're digging it out.
Yeah, this is actually just a retaining wall. Now, why these windows are in there could be for just maybe to let water flow through.
Yeah, there might be some sort of...
Or maybe maybe part of the sewer system to drain.
Yeah, back in the day too, or something. If there used to be a river or something or a body of water there,
what really got me into this topic is when I seen this.
Look at that!
Because I was like, oh, they're digging this out. For those listening, this is under Paris. It looks like a sub-city. Like there's pillars.
40 feet of structure underneath it. It's like literally they built a city on top of other buildings.
But when I researched this a little bit, and it makes sense. These pillars are just for structural support
of the buildings above.
Yeah, because this is very soft ground.
So they done so similar to kind of like building a bridge or a dam or something. You have to go way down deep to get into the bedrock,
and
or whatever.
Low Italy sits, and
yeah, it's pretty close to sea level. I would
imagine. Kind of tell this part above it here is just like.
It doesn't look like living dwellings or whatever, but boy, oh boy, that is deep. That is 30 feet down in the ground that they put structure, and it probably goes deeper than that.
Again, when we look back at the Capitol building, that makes sense for this.
Yeah, very similar.
And that's what that is.
Very similar design approach.
As you can tell, these ain't windows and stuff over here. This is structural support. So the Capitol, that's kind of swampy area.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't sink in the ground.
Okay.
So that's that on that. But also in Paris, they had these catacombs.
Yeah, they're famous in Europe for these.
So for those that don't know, the catacombs.
Those are all skulls and bones and stuff under there, right?
1786. So these hold the bodies. What happened is the cemeteries were full.
So the plague hit or something, right?
There was a big loss of life. I think they talked about a flood too at one point, but they had to put the bodies somewhere because there were so many. So they had these limestone quarries beneath Paris, and they decided to just stack their.
And they did it in such a way that it's like aesthetically pleasing. It's kind of freaky when you think about.
Yeah, could you imagine walking through there?
How many thousands of bodies and bones that were put down in there?
And you can walk through there if you go.
And think of it, they're not stuffing body parts with flesh, in there. Those bones are picked and dried before they put them down there. So, oof, it'd be a fly on that wall to see how they did that.
One thing I do want to mention here is the Seattle Underground. So this is a perfect example here too. This was originally street level. So what they wanted to do is, because I believe it was a flooding issue, if I'm not mistaken, they wanted to raise that level up.
So just brought in a bunch of dirt, basically?
That actually looks more like I-beams, and then made the road kind of, because you can still walk down here. They take tours and stuff.
You know, does this...
And it used to be, back in the day, you could go shopping on the lower level and then go back up to the top.
Oh, cool.
And they kind of backed off.
Part of me feels that, like, you know, maybe this had something to do with Prohibition era underground, you know, liquor storage and speakeasies, and, you know, human trafficking was big out in that area too. So they operated folks in underground tunnels and such. But that is pretty peculiar.
Yeah, this is part of it too. And you can see that, you know, you got the road here and you got windows, and that looked like...
Yeah, those look like windows to me.
That it was buried. A lot of the Seattle Underground too is... We should ask Athena.
Oh, yeah, because she's from Washington, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's really close to Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is that. Again, underground exists.
Yeah,
There,
you know,
I'm not debating.
You know, maybe they're just repurposed lizard people.
Well, that
tunnels,
exists
right?
too.
Yeah, right under San Francisco.
So let's go into some theories about a lot of these, because we've seen that was, and we go back to this one here. All I think this is they decided to raise the road.
Could very well be.
So they had to meet that requirement. And a lot of like windows you will see will be boxed in like this. So you'd have to make it so you can still get your light in if you instead of taking the window out, so they can match that grade. So that's one explanation there. Again, let's talk about some natural stuff that can happen. You got pole shifts, volcanoes I just mentioned that covered Herculaneum. You can have apocalyptic weather with who knows what the hell goes on with a pole shift. Underwater cities.
Yep. And
those are in an ocean, so they obviously had a pole shift.
What you're describing has not happened in the last 1,000 years, though, Dan.
But the theory is they're saying that they think it happened in the last. That's not.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I just don't buy it. We've had a.
But the reason they say that is because those buildings ain't that old. That's why they have to keep that.
Yeah,
date.
yeah. They have to. Yeah,
But I'm debunking this whole thing. I'm saying it's bullshit.
Yeah, I just don't see it either, Dan.
And I've just said the pavement to change the roads and the structure ones. Remember, I showed the pictures of stuff like this. Or even a better example was probably something like this. Why, like, if you're going to build a building and they change the grade, instead of like ripping all this brick and stuff out, it makes great foundation. Why would you waste the time?
Yeah, right.
You just go over it.
Yeah, you'd load it. And that's not to say some of what we're looking at too isn't a result of some localized catastrophe, right? Where a mudslide or something did happen. You know, it would be easy to find examples of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. For one, from the get-go, I didn't buy this 100 to 1,000 year time frame. I just don't. I think that we would see it.
Easter Island. Remember these statues with the heads?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, these go down. And I believe, wasn't the explanation on these for volcano? I believe it was.
I think that there's mixed opinions on that. I think that,
or maybe just a lot of storms and like.
Well, I think
this is in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, it's a island out in the middle of nowhere with a population that's no longer exists. But I think that some of the theories too say that it was symbolic to bury him that way, as as part of their religious or other spiritual kind of beliefs, that it was by design they buried him that
doesn't
deep.
make sense though, because there's other statues unless they dug all those out. But you can see, they could have dug them out, I guess. So that's the mud flood theory. I think it's bullshit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe too. I'd need some better evidence and better.
Because the whole idea of like 100 years ago, this great flood came in and washed.
Yeah, no, that would be documented. Like if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen closer to 1,000 years ago. But we're looking at structures that were not built 1,000 years ago.
And when and even like the short, if they said 100 years ago, that's a lot of people would. Their grandparents would freaking.
There would be
know.
people like potentially still alive that would have come out on the end of that, and I'm sure
and they would have talked about it.
Yeah, we would have heard about it too if it was in that 100, even 200 years ago, right? So
that's that topic. I want to switch over to the Eleanor Caves and kind of they're somewhat interesting together. So this was submitted by John Slane. Let's go over this real quick. There's 34 monasteries and temples. This is in India, and it's believed to be built by the rulers from the Rakshasku. How do you say that, Pete?
Where's Rashtrakuta dynasty? Rashtrakuta.
And this
That's
was
how
in
it
the
pronounce
6th and 10th centuries.
Oh, so they 400 years of rule. Then it looks like.
It was excavated out of volcanic basaltic rock. They say there was only simple hammers and chisels used, and again, it was designated the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983.
You know, it's funny that when we get over to this part of the world, how much crazy engineering was done with simple hammers and chisels.
Well, that brings up
saying?
another point, yeah.
You know, I mean, look at the pyramids and stuff.
So, yeah, look at these pictures.
Oh, my gosh, look at that, Dan.
This blew my mind.
This is, for those listening, this is intricate stonework being done. It looks like it's, chiseled out of solid rock, temple. Oh my gosh, that is impressive, man. I mean, think of the years it took to do that.
See the this is the one, this is the main one.
That was literally carved out the side of a mountain out of solid rock.
You can see the rock around it.
Yeah.
That it was obviously part of.
I can't even imagine how back in that day do you find enough people talented enough to do this? Because one person did not do this. Two people did not do this. This was a team of people that were skilled allegedly with chisels and hammers, man.
That's what gets me, because they say that they use
and you know, nothing's lopsided. You know, when you look at people making like clay figurines, things that are a little like bulging and stuff. This is like, you know,
there's so much.
I would love to get some telemetry data on that to see how symmetrical they are and how consistent they are between them. But my gosh, look at that.
But yeah, like I'm showing you, this is a different area.
Yep, carved out of the side of a solid rock cliff, mountain, whatever you want to call it. Hillside.
Then when I showed you this is another area. Again, I said there was 34 of these areas.
Yes.
So there's a lot of them here. You can look at it on Google Maps or type it in.
In 400 years and 34 areas, they were able to achieve this sort of stuff from apparently a highly skilled group of people.
It's to me like chisels my ass. Like I think that they had some advanced technology.
I would love to go in here and actually look and see if each one of those little carved out patterns are how identical they are. All I know is that like one of those pillars would take somebody years to chisel.
There's also a rumor that they completed this in like a week or two. So it's like there's no way. Like I mean, yeah, you could have a big group of people.
No, 200 people. There comes a point where the people would have to be standing on top of each other to do this, and it's just not feasible.
So there's a lot of these temples there. Like I mentioned, there's for the religions. There was Buddha, Hinduism, Jain, and this one here, the big one, is Kailasha. Okay, I never heard of that religion before.
I saw the notes and
so yeah. Interesting, but that's not what John Slane wanted us to cover. He wants to talk about where did all that material go that they took out.
Oh, good point. Where'd it go?
So when you're talking about rock, you can see right where it's dug out.
There should be huge tailing piles.
Well, if you're chiseling out too, you could just throw it. If there's a big bank, I mean, I think there was a hill on the other side, but if you keep throwing the material over there.
Yeah, but you would see a pile of chipped material at some point.
Yeah, but if you think about how old this is, it could have got just covered up. And
I can't imagine.
Could that rocket broke down? And then it's kind of lumped together after many years.
God,
we're talking. These are centuries ago.
But maybe in like 20 million years that could happen, but not in 500.
But it would get covered over with this grass shit
potentially. But
you wouldn't see it.
That still wouldn't change the fact there would be a big mound or hump somewhere that this material was deposited. And I would think anybody that was doing this excavating I guess for that matter, where's the excavated material, right? I would love to look behind where this is. Maybe it's there. It's just that it isn't documented, so we're asking those questions.
It's a good question. I tried doing a search on it. No one asked that question.
When I spent a couple years out west doing my gold prospecting and opening up old mines that were worked, in the 50s and 60s, trying to pick up old veins and stuff. One of the things is we were covering the mountainside, looking at like literally old maps that were 70 years old, hand drawn, trying to find these old abandoned mine shafts. One of the things that we looked for were the tailing piles, because you would see on the side of a hill, you would see like a hump, and you're like, oh, that looks like a tailing pile. And you start digging in the side of the hill next to the tailing pile, and every now and then you'd poof into an old gold mine shaft.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's a ton of material there. There would be a huge mound of material unless somehow they scattered it evenly across the landscape, which just would not make sense from a labor standpoint.
Or the bigger thing is they were actually really advanced. Again, not using chisels.
Yeah.
They had
cut it out, vaporized it,
laser technology, whatever.
Or whatever.
Maybe they used spaceships to haul it off. Who knows? Like I like it's this whole thing like with the pyramids too. I don't buy any of that shit with the slaves, and there's more to what was going on. If you're trying to get
they allegedly moved all those blocks and stuff with trees and stuff. And where's the nearest tree when you're looking out there? And
they do say it was more foresty back then.
I don't know about that.
I don't think it was always a desert. Let's just put it that way.
That I would agree with that. It's the timing and time frame that we would.
So yeah, great question, John. That's the best I can give you.
I don't know. That's cool. Super interesting topic.
I think it's more technology than what we're told. That's my opinion.
Definitely more sophistication. It isn't just some dude with a chisel and hammer and like licking his thumb and holding it up to the wind.
Basaltic rock is really hard.
Yeah, good question. That's interesting. Next time I'm in India, I'll make it a point to swing by and get a closer look and report.
That'd be a good one for the show if you want to fly over there. I always wanted to do an overseas thing, but we have to let the chaos die down. Maybe it's died down already time this show airs. That's wishful thinking, right?
Yeah. Yes. I'd like to go to Northern Ireland and get drunk.
Oh, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave the voicemail up here so you guys can use it. 1-256-510-5234, 1-256-510-K2D4. Call in, leave a message, say hi. Maybe you got an opinion about where this material went for this temple. Where the hell did it go? Let us know. Call in. Anything else that's on your mind, let us know. We'll air them on the show here and get some interaction that we're missing. So with that, Dan Holfeld, Pete Hallbleib, talk is cheap, and we are out.